My name is Andy Calkins. I'm the Deputy Director at NextGen Learning Challenges. This is a nonprofit initiative run by EduCause, which is working with a lot of educators nationally to help reimagine public education. There was a really good idea at the beginning of the standards movement, which was, let's hold all kids, no matter what zip code they live in, to the same high standards. How can you argue with that? But then what happened was that good idea got shanghaied by the limits on what we knew how to test with confidence. And so that became the tail that wagged the whole dog of practice and students' experience of school. In these schools, there's a learning pathway for mathematics, but an understanding that if you're 11, you might be doing this at a 5th grade level or a 8th grade level or even a 3rd grade level. And the school orients itself around you to help construct the best possible set of learning methodologies to make it work. The skills today that any high school graduate needs in order to be successful have more to do with agency side skills that involve self-efficacy and ability to manage and collaborate with others, solve problems in a creative way, be a lifelong learner, apply knowledge and skills from one domain to another, all of that. And some of that comes from a traditional school model, but it's the rare traditional school model that really focuses on and emphasizes those kinds of skills. I mean, just think about how you would have learned how to take a great picture. You're not going to learn to take a great picture by reading a book about it. You got to go and take some pictures and learn. Same way on the sports field, how much practice there is before you actually go out and can perform well. So this is all in the same vein of learning by doing, by reiterating, by changing your practice, by doing all the things that we naturally know how to do as 1-year-olds and 4-year-olds, but that somehow never were reflected in the school model that grew out of our development of that model in the early 1920s. So it's all very experiential. It tends to be both individual and collaborative in teams, and it tends to be authentic, meaning it has a point that people care about. So in a lot of our schools, they're not just doing projects, they're doing projects that produce something that a local nonprofit is going to be able to use, for instance. There is a fundamental difference in the roles of teachers in these schools, from being what sometimes is called the sage on the stage, who is imparting all the knowledge and then hoping that it sticks, to being the facilitator, manager, coach, supporter, and enabler of students' own capacity to co-construct their own learning. I think it's already starting to happen. Innovation adoption tends to follow similar patterns. There are outlier innovators who are quite often serving underserved audiences on the periphery of the whole, which is sort of where our grantee schools are right now. But then they're able to show that their results are actually more genuine or meaningful than the outcomes of what's happening within the circle of most practice in the traditional model. And that's also beginning to happen. The schools in our network are now 2 and 3 years old, and there are more of them coming online every day. And there's an emerging set of research that shows that not only are they able to help their kids perform perfectly well, and in many cases significantly better on those tests than traditional model schools, they're able to show outcomes in lots of other ways as well, on behavioral indicators, attendance, suspensions, those kind of things. And for some schools that have been around for a while, like High Tech High in San Diego, far better persistence rates in college. The public education domain in the U.S. Tends not to change until it can see an evidence base. And we're still a couple of years away from having it be deep enough and rich enough for people who are sort of in the cautious adopter category to be ready to do that. But I think we're going to get there. And when we do, that research is going to be so compelling that I think there will be quite a rush to begin to adopt these kinds of models. My advice is there's an awful lot available online, including at our website, which is nextgenlearning.org. Creating a sort of micro lab experiment in your school among your fourth grade teacher team, whatever, it can be a Trojan horse that can help lead to better things. I mean, it didn't lead to very good things for Troy, but the metaphor still applies. And there are examples, a lot of them out there, of schools that have made movements in part because of the example shown them by some experimental teaching going on in a few classrooms within the school. This is the kind of thing where seeing is believing,